Hey everyone, today we're exploring eastern Oklahoma, and specifically we're in Briar Creek, Oklahoma, which is just south of Purim. So if you happen to have made the visit to Bell Star, go a little bit further south and then you'll find this cemetery. It's pretty interesting. Some big time history in here and I've overlooked it. I've been past here many times before and never knew this, but a friend of mine pointed it out to me. So this is a fairly decent sized cemetery for just down a rocky road. And that's basically what this is. You have to open a gate and then drive on through. But thought we would walk around here and just have a look. I know that there's at least one big person in here. But as you can see here, there are some veterans in here, which is something that I always love to see. Lawrence O. Sanders, United States Army in World War II, January 9th, 1925 to December 28th, 1996. Pretty interesting. These are nice under this shade tree here. But this one kind of caught my eye because of the statue on top, this angel that's praying. Kenneth W. Taylor, September 3rd, 1941 to March 1st, 1953. Not very old at all, 12 years old. Sleeping in Jesus. There are some older ones in here. This one is Clarence, son of D.A. and R.B. McClamory, born in 1899. It has kind of sunk into the ground there. This is Robbie D., born in 1892 and died in 1893. Not even a year old, actually. And Reuben Lee, born in 1892. Oh, okay. These were twins. They were both born November 23rd, 1892. One on the left, Robbie, died September 23rd, 1893. And the one on the right is August 15th, 1893. So that's kind of sad. Must have been something in the area, some sort of sickness passing through. This is McClamory here, which we've already seen. Isaac. And born in 1821 and died in 1899. This old one, you can see a Masonic symbol at the top. And this is Louisa, born in 1820 something there and died in 1899. Around the same time period. There are some interesting ones here. That's for sure. Some older ones from the 1800s. This one right here is born and died in 1891, Bessie Hilton. And this is another Hilton. And it is a Cleo, daughter of J.S. and J.C. Hilton, born November 4th, 1892, and died September 2nd, 1905. This is Hilton right here as well. Several older markers in here. J.M., husband of Eva B., and Cash is the last name, K-A-S-H, August 12th, 1889 to October 22nd, 1924. And then, look at this. This is N.E., wife of J.A. Cash, born in January 28th, 1853, I think that says, and died March 26th, 1909. Look at this one right here. Maybe there's writing on the other side. There is. This is Perry C., son of J.A. and N.E. Cash, August 23rd, 1893 to August 31st, 1894. Like I said, there are some older ones in here. This one has a Masonic symbol on it. J.M. Cash, 1830 to 1901. you can see several of these stones marking final resting places here, but there won't be anything written on them at all. You can see the cemetery stretches quite a ways over there. Now this is the main one that I wanted to come here and see. Saw a friend who had come here and he shared this with me, and it definitely piqued my interest. I've been past this area many times. Like I said, Bell Star is just a little north and a little west of here, not too far. So if you come this far, you need to check this one out. It's going to be very hard to read, and the reason why is there is another language that is on top of here, and it is believed to be Cherokee. So this is a Cherokee grave right here. And the person that is lying here or resting here is named Spring Frog. Now there have been quite a few people that read and write Cherokee that have visited this particular grave, and they have stated that this is not written in correct Cherokee, but they have translated what this writing says, and it says Spring Frog died 31 August, month 1859. 100, maybe age about. Doesn't exactly make sense, but it is pretty interesting. However, it's believed that he was 105 years old when he drowned in the Canadian River. Spring Frog was born near Lookout Mountain near Chattanooga, where his cabin is actually still standing and part of the Audubon Acres. He had struck up a great friendship with John James Audubon. He loved the outdoors and he loved to hunt. He also loved to preserve nature, and he did this all his life. He also enjoyed sitting next to streams, and he was fond of stickball. As an elder, he joined the Cherokee regiment that fought in the Creek Wars. He then moved to present-day Oklahoma before the Indian Removal's Trail of Tears with a group of Western Cherokee and Old Settlers that included Sequoia. After his arrival, they clashed with the Osage chief Claremont and fought the Osage near present-day Claremore. At the age of 64, he was among those leading the pursuit against them. This led to a 20-year conflict between the two tribes, and it eventually led to the building of Oklahoma's first fort, Fort Gibson. The conflict then stopped after the Osage were impressed by the fort's power. He signed the Treaty of Turkeytown in September 1816 as one of the chiefs. He helped write the first law that was passed in the Western Cherokee at Darndale Rock, which established the Light Horse Company to preserve peace and order. In other words, that was their police force. Spring Frog retired to a farm near Briartown and represented the Cherokee in a delegation to Washington, D.C. in 1838. It was here that he had a portrait painted by the artist Charles Bird King, and it became part of the gallery at the Smithsonian Institute. He spent most of his time with Sequoia at the Dwight Mission at nearby Marble City, sitting under the trees and talking about old times. For about another 2 decades, Spring Frog lived peacefully in the new Indian Territory before drowning in the swollen Canadian River. This was a private in Company A, 22nd Engineers, World War I. Right there, 1892 to 1962, William V. Campbell. Right beside Spring Frog was a veteran, and he is Wayne West, Tech Sergeant in the United States Air Force, and served in Korea and Vietnam, 1933 to 2004. So like I said, a lot of history in here, and pretty fascinating cemetery to just sort of walk through. It is a country type cemetery. It looks as though they've had some cattle in here, which is kind of worrisome. That's a cow patty. But when cows are in somewhere where they can lean up against something, hopefully they're choosing these trees. Cows are really lazy. They sit around, stand around, chewing on their cud, but they'll also lean up against these markers and stuff. That's the dangerous thing about allowing cows in there. And I know I hear comments of People saying, well, it's overgrown, let some goats in there. Well, then they climb on monuments. And that can be dangerous. If they're old and brittle, they're going to break. Now, that one over there with spring frog, that's solid. So nothing's really going to happen to that. But there are some other ones in here that are really brittle. And granted, they may not have writing on it, but it's still something that I don't want to see. But I don't know how many cattle they let roam through here, but hate to see the cow patties anyways. But this is Maddie, wife of J.P. Marshall, 1862 to 1912. And that's J.P. Marshall right there, 1866 to 1944. And look at this one. Now this is a good one. That marker is the original one. And of course it has been knocked over at some point, I guess, or hit by accident during care. It's broken. Everything on there is not legible whatsoever. But they have placed this newer marker here. And this newer marker says William G. Russell, Captain Russell Company, Georgia Cavalry, Confederate States Army, 1820 to 1877. So that really is an earlier burial right there. William Greenberry Russell was born in South Carolina, but moved to Georgia as a small child with his family. His father engaged in gold mining during the Georgia Gold Rush that started in 1828. Russell grew up in a local economy dominated by mining. In 1845, he married Susan Willis, who was a 1/8 Cherokee. When the gold was found at Sutter's Mill in California during 1848, Russell led a couple of successful mining ventures to California. During this time period, he was really moving all over the place, from Georgia to California and everywhere in between, chasing gold. He did some mining along the South Platte River in Colorado. Near the mouth of the Little Dry Creek in 1858, he found some gold that yielded 600 grams, which was the first significant discovery in the Rocky Mountain region. In 1859, he discovered gold in the nearby Gregory Gulch, and it was soon named after him as Russell Gulch. His gold mining and venturing stopped because of the Civil War, and he went off to serve his country in the Confederate Army. After the Civil War, Russell returned to Colorado in his search for gold. But this time he would not be as successful as he had been previously. After the death of his son in a mining accident in 1874, he sought to gain land in Indian Territory through his Cherokee wife. He settled in Briartown, Oklahoma, but always contemplated a return to Georgia. However, he became ill and died in 1877. Russell was one of the few miners to participate in all three of the major gold rushes in America during the 19th century: Georgia, California, and Colorado. He is credited for starting the Pikes Peak Rush in Colorado. There are 2 towns in Colorado named after him. Both are locations where he found gold: Russellville, which is now an unincorporated suburban community in Douglas County, and Russell Gulch, a former mining town in Gilpin County. In Denver, there is a parcel of land at 37th and Vine Street known as Russell Square Park that was named after him in 1914. In downtown Denver, the bar Green Russell derives its name from Russell. Oh, here we go on the back side. It is a little more legible. I figured it'd be on the other side since they had that marker there. It says, "In memory of our beloved father." And it says W.C. Russell departed this life August 24th, 1877, age 66 years old. And there is a little bit more down below, an epitaph, but it gets pretty difficult to read. They do have a flagpole. Like I said, someone's coming out here and making sure that these flags are bright and new. I don't believe that these are something that would have been placed here a month ago, but I guess they could have. We've just had so much rain. I would figure these would be dirty. So look at this one. Pretty interesting with all the growth on it. Might have had a topper on it at one point. But the last name is Rhetty, Eliza C. And middle name is Catherine. Born March 8th, 1850 and died April 14th, 1911. Here's another Civil War veteran, Mitchell Eddy, Company M, 5th Tennessee Cavalry volunteer, Civil War. What's interesting there, it has the date of death, but no date of birth. It's over on the left-hand side, July 17th, 1897. Kind of makes you think it's the birth date, but if you put 2 and 2 together about the Civil War, then it's not. Samuel Rhetty, 1883 to 1906. Little iron fence here. It's a tiny one. I think it is just a child that is here, because it is not very big. Don't see a name. The name would be underneath. So the marker itself has sunk down into the ground as well. Kind of a common problem with some of these out here. Now there are some newer memorial areas, so we'll try not to show those out of respect. This is a Korean War era veteran, J. Jemison, November 8th, 1932 to May 18th, 1991. There are several Jemison family members here. Pretty interesting old tree that was there at one point. In fact, it almost looks like the tree almost sort of swallowed up some memorial markers maybe. There are several broken ones. Like I said, that could happen from the cattle being in here, or just standard care of running a tractor through here. Laura Jamerson, born in 1871 and died in 1896, looks like. It's bright white, so it depends on how the sun hits it. Can be a little tricky. Emily Barnhill Lish, 1868 to 1899. And this one, it's had all kinds of issues. It's been broken numerous times. It's been fixed, you can see. So that makes it a little hard to read. And it has broken once again, and then that tree is growing in between the two pieces. Like I said, you can see where the cattle have ran through here. You can see the cow patties. You can feel also where they've kind of sank down in the ground when it's been moist or wet. These are kind of interesting right here. A couple broken ones. I don't see where the base has shifted or anything too bad to make it break like that. So that's where I'm saying that the cattle can lean up against it. And here you can see evidence of a cow leaning on it. And that's unfortunate. Hate to see stuff like that. You can see this one right here. It's broken. And this is William F. Love, 1880 to 1904. And this is a big one. I mean, to get these repaired would cost a lot of money, and I'm assuming that this cemetery is probably on private property. Now this is, see the log up top. This is a little different one. A lot of times you see these where they're like a tree stump, and it will say Woodman of the World. But this one says Woodman of the World, and it was erected by them. James R. Love, 1854 to 1907 down at the bottom. And it is shifted off of the base there. And then there's just kind of this cement slab with some markers in it. Couple markers on the outskirts of it. You can see more over there. It's interesting how it's kind of built up against that chain link fence. I'm sure a lot of these people in here have some sort of Cherokee ancestry. We're in that area of Oklahoma where they would have that. Plus we see Spring Frog at the front, and we know that he is Cherokee. Now this is looks like Bance Gooden, B-A-N-C-E, 1895 to 1918, and it has a number 302-6333, Base Hospital, Medical Corps, 112th, Camp Sherman, Ohio. So isn't that interesting? The top it has a flag and it says Our Democracy. And in that same little family plot area, some crows up there. Is this one right here? This is I.M., husband of A.G. Brown, born in 1854 and died in 1917. Some more crows. All of a sudden the crows decided to come out. Like I said, there are a lot of markers here. Check out this feather. That is a massive feather right here. Massive. I mean, if I was guessing, I would say eagle feather, but that is not something that I run across a lot of. So I don't know if this eagle feather or whatever type of feather it is was placed here due to a Native American custom or not, and it's just blown around the cemetery, but we'll put it right back down where we found it. It could have just came right out of a bird, but sure is pretty clean looking. And this last name is Robinson, born in 1839 and died in 1903. You can see Mother Nancy right here. Now look at this one right here. Someone's actively doing some trimming around this though. Don't know who that was, but obviously that growth is dying and it was wrapped all around there where you couldn't even see that. This fence is really impressive. Love the corner posts that are on it as well as the gate posts. And to see something like this is really impressive for this part of Oklahoma. Take a look here as it has a slab that would have went across right there. Everything has eroded and sunk down in below, decomposed, whatever it was, wooden coffin, don't know. But the weight of it has fallen in. Maybe a tree trunk or something has fallen in over it. But over time, it's just eroded. Heat, cold, whatever. You can see some rust in there. That's actually a wasp nest that's in that hole as it's rusted through. This is Liza Allen, born in 1851 and died in 1899. It's very difficult to read the way that fence is there in the front of it. You can see all this growth that's on there. And there's the gate. So that's going to do it for this little cemetery explore. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any history on any of these in here, whether you've seen it on a website, some other sort of resource, maybe the historical center area, if you're from this area, maybe you have some information on it, or maybe you have a relative in here. If you'd like to share any of it, I'm sure not only I, but others are also interested in that history of who's in this cemetery, and you can share it below in the comments. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.